we have an exciting announcement. I was, 7 years ago, I was a public school teacher who was inspired by my students to think bigger and better, just like I would teach them. If you got a problem, go out and try to fix it. And so they inspire me to run for office for the first time now in my second term. I'm here with one of my former students, now someone who works for the county, Xavier Bentley, one of my star 7th grade math students on break for the summer. And they inspire me again to think of the deep problems across our community. I had tremendous opportunities here in Delaware. We're eager to get out and fix them across the state, so I'll be running for governor next year.
Okay, well, there we have it. Well, I think you hit on this a little bit. I was going to ask you what led you to choose to run for governor this time around, but it sounds like you're drawing, at least in part, Matt, from some of that same source of inspiration you got the first time.
Yeah, Peter, I feel real urgency when I look at what's going on in our community and in our country. When I was a kid, we'd always talk about how the next generation will be the best generation in American history, how the next generation will make more money than their parents may, be wealthier. There will be greater equality across our community than ever before in American history. Healthcare will be better. I think now there's a sense that things are really different. And so we need real leadership to make sure the next generation will indeed be our best generation.
Let's talk about your name. Obviously, here where we sit, northern Newcastle County, everyone knows who Matt Meyer is. As you go downstate, do you have concerns about name recognition, and what do you plan to do about that?
Look,
Matt?
I've always believed when I joke that when I first ran for county executive, I went and told my parents, and my mom's like, I'm with you, and my dad's like, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. I think they both thought I had little to no chance. My experience in America is you get out there, you give people a message, a true message. You show people the experience you've had changing things, setting up things like the Hope Center that to date have housed over 2,400 of our most vulnerable Delawareans, 1,000 kids coding that have provided engaging after-school and summer program activities for over 1,000 kids, teaching low-income kids high-income skills, programs like that really create a vision for the Delaware that we can be.
Matt, let me ask you this. Some people run for office, and they see that brass ring way up here. In other words, they use their offices as a stepping stone to get to where they want to be. Was your initial vision for Newcastle County Executive a stepping stone, or you were using it more as a litmus test to see how you kind of fit into this political life?
I don't think it was either. I live in the present. I love my job. I love the fact that in Delaware, my work is to make sure your 911 calls are answered quicker. My job is to make sure your sewer works better, make sure we're monitoring your sewers for public health dangers. We're leading the country. Those aren't Democrat or Republican things. It's not like thinking about how do I leverage this constituency to get to a higher level? How do I do a really good job to build a brighter future for our county? And now, as we've had success in the county, we've talked more about how we do it at the state. So we take things day by day.
Matt, you mentioned at the top you're a former public school teacher. It was, again, the place where you had that initial inspiration to run. As you look at public education in the state, Delaware is at least perceived to be lagging behind, say, neighboring states in that category, if you will. Do you have specific plans in mind to maybe boost the profile of public education here in Delaware?
5 years ago, I had a unique opportunity with other elected officials across the country to go to China. And when I was there, I set up a video call between Delaware public school students and Chinese students. The Delaware public school students were in Downs Elementary. Mm-hmm. They went to Newark Public Library at 8 in the morning, and they spoke in Chinese. They go to a Chinese immersion school in Downs Elementary. They spoke to Beijing International School, and those kids were speaking English. I was seated, surrounded by American elected officials in Beijing whose jaws were dropping based on the performance and outcomes of Delaware public schools. Here are 4th and 5th grade students teaching fluent Chinese. There are extraordinary things happening in our public school system. There are also serious, serious problems. We've seen rankings that are embarrassing for our state. By looking at the amazing things we're doing, we can solve a lot of problems by supporting teachers better, by listening to teachers, creating opportunities for teachers to innovate in the classroom. We can do extraordinary things that I think really show what Delaware is and can be.
County Executive Matt Meyer joining us here on Delaware this morning, announcing that he is making a run for governor of Delaware. Matt, we had this on the air recently. You finalized a budget that included a property tax reduction for all county homeowners a first in over 50 years. Um, what's been your model, if you will, to be able to get that kind of stuff done at the county level? And what are your thoughts as you look to maybe try to do some of the same stuff on a state level?
When you pay your property taxes to Newcastle County or you pay your income taxes to the state, every penny matters. I try to treat it like my own finances. Before we let a dollar go, we really think hard about how does this create value for residents? How does this create value for taxpayers? The way we were able to get to the first property tax reduction for homeowners in over 50 years. To be honest, the Newcastle County historians I spoke to said that they don't think it's ever been done before, but we weren't sure. We're sure about 50 years. The way you do it is every day you take the hard work of Delawareans seriously. You understand that small business owners, I've started a couple of small businesses, for small business owners to be out there working hard, generating revenue, creating jobs, and then to take part of that and give it to the government as taxes. We need to use that as efficiently as possible, and where we can, we give that back to homeowners, residents, small business owners.
Matt, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. We're a bit removed from what a lot of people consider to be the heart of the pandemic, but you got this thing right in the face as you came into office, basically. That said, did the pandemic in some ways accelerate your learning curve as a county executive, or how would you characterize the experience of being Newcastle County executive during the pandemic?
It was challenging in a lot of ways. You go through the experience of what they say in politics, that you get a phone call at 2 a.m. Who do you want answering that call? I wanted to be worthy of answering that call, and we did it by prioritizing public health. We did it by making sure that the dollars we had, the resources we had, we really put to protecting the most vulnerable, neighbors who couldn't go outside, people who didn't have a home, people who needed food. And so that experience resulted, I think, in us leading the nation in several ways. Obviously, our sewer monitoring for COVID, our COVID testing, we were, because of Curative and our partnership with Teach for America, which I created, we were the first state in the country to have open, free test sites, saliva-based test sites all across our state. I was honored to work with the governor on that.
Matt, I also just want to get at least a general idea from you. 6-7 years ago, if you and I had talked and I said like the word fentanyl or anything along those lines, we wouldn't have really known what it was. But I swear every day it seems like I'm reading more and more incidents of Delawareans, and this is nationwide. This is not by any stretch limited to Delaware, falling prey to fentanyl and these other street drugs like Trank that are making themselves known, and people don't understand what they're getting into, and they're losing their lives. As you look at the drug situation here in Delaware, are there thoughts that you have in terms of maybe trying to handling that scale of drug issue in the first state?
It's serious and it's devastating. But because we're Delaware, we can lead the nation in our fight against fentanyl and opioids. And I judge not based on inputs, not based on the millions of dollars we're investing, but based on outcomes, based on saving lives. We're going to look very creatively with a blank sheet of paper about how we solve this problem. I've had a few years running a paramedic service now. I get reports every week on what they're seeing. Often that's sort of the end of the food chain, if you will. It's downstream. We got to look at the earliest stage. How do we prevent kids who are starting to develop a mindset to use the mindset of addiction? What does psychology tell us? And how can we, at the youngest stage, address that with painkillers and various prescription drugs? How do we get in and understand what's actually going on? There's some really good things going on in this state. A lot of it is understanding those things that are going on, listening to the advocates and making sure investments are made. And in Delaware, we can make them quicker. We can make them with greater urgency to build a better future for all Delawareans.
Last thing, Matt, you have mentioned the fact that, you really got into politics, wanting to be kind of an agent of change, if you will. The Delaware geography seems to me like it would be helpful to the kind of political approach you take. In other words, are you going to be all over the state, or what is your campaign going to look like for Delawareans out there?
Oh, it'll definitely be a statewide campaign. Spend a lot of time in Sussex and Kent County these days, making sure people understand what we're about. People understand that the vision we present, the issues of growth, the issues of climate change in Sussex County in particular are very serious. We have a green NCC program in Newcastle.